Rule number 1,
Bios.
always right. Rule number 2, nothing else matters because
Bios.
it's always right.
Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Bios, and in today's video, I'm going to be reacting to some very interesting news that's been going on with Nintendo. Now, I'm a little late to the information, but I have been keeping an eye on it. I just am choosing now to talk about it. There's been a lot of things going on. But the notable thing that's been happening, and another thing that Nintendo has been being attacked for, is their user agreement. I don't know all the information around it, but I am aware that apparently there seems to be some sort of clause in the user agreement that gives Nintendo the ability to shut down your hardware for the Nintendo Switch 2 if you break one of their guidelines. A lot of people are not happy with this, as they should be, because this is a $450 console that a person buys that essentially you don't even own if they're able to disable it remotely just because you broke their terms. Now, regardless of what everyone thinks, that item is yours, in my opinion. That item no longer belongs to the company, but it belongs to the user, to the customer, point blank, period. Of course, going to your Nintendo account is a little bit different. Now, the reason I think Nintendo is doing this is so that they can get around emulation. Now, there was something that happened with Breath of the Wild that my friend was telling me about, that the game was released on some sort of emulation platform, but they put it behind a paywall, and that was able to give um Nintendo leverage to go and sue them and basically make them not exist anymore. They sued them into non-existence. And I mean, rightfully so. If it's emulation or game preservation, those things should not be locked behind a paywall, because Nintendo was able to use that and say that we lost money because of this. People were getting the game over this instead of paying us. We put our hard work into this and someone else put it out there and they're taking the money. It was a big mess. So now, not even now, Nintendo has been trying to do this for a very long time in many ways, shape, and forms. They literally go after anybody that tries to copy their platform. That's something that they're doing right now with a game called Power World. Obviously different, but very much inspired by Pokemon. And Nintendo have been doing their darn best to get that game shut down or changed or whatever. So we are going to basically be getting some more information about what's going on. The video that we are reacting to is by Spawnwave, and the title is Nintendo Just Changed Their User Agreement. This video came out 13 days ago, and it has 97K views. I say 13 days ago? It came out 13 days ago. Now, if you guys enjoy this type of content that I've been doing, once again, my name is Bios101, and I react to gaming news, gaming trailers, stuff like that, and alike, and basically put my own opinion on it. I am a fellow regular gamer, just like you, but I kind of am involved in the gaming industry and landscape. And in terms of the information, I try to be as informed as I can. I learn from my friends. I learn from the news that comes out on YouTube. Sometimes I may read an article and stuff like that, just to be well informed in my purchase decisions and to not be fooled or whatever by like companies that like don't keep their word and stuff like that. So basically, we react to it, give my thoughts based on my own experience and stuff like that, but also to make the information a little bit more palatable to you through this type of content. If you guys do enjoy it, be sure to like, subscribe, and follow. And don't forget to comment below. Let me know your thoughts on whatever that we're reacting to, or even in a past video. And don't be afraid to send me something that you would like me to give my word on. All right, let's go.
Well, it looks like Nintendo isn't messing around anymore, and it shouldn't surprise anyone considering their stance and how aggressive they are when it comes to emulation or hacking the system, homebrew, their fan games. I mean, you name it, Nintendo, they live in the courtroom and they love to attack any of this stuff. And so, hearing about how the EULA, or the End User License Agreement, was updated with quite a bit of extra language to more or less tell you that if you decide to hack or soft mod your system, that they have the right to, well, update and then break your system. To me, it's not surprising, but it definitely has the internet going through it right now. But
okay, so for him to say that this isn't surprising, now, yes, this isn't surprising for Nintendo to do. Like, once again, they literally go after anybody. That's what they're doing with Power right now. They go after anybody. A lot of especially a lot of like Pokemon like games or Pokemon spin-off games that have been made. Um, it's gotten to the point where people, I mean, they still make them, but you don't really get these games anymore, and it's kind of sad because these games kind of push the envelope to what people want out of Pokemon, for example, and they want them to be better. And these solo developers, they make the franchise better in terms of features, in terms of quality of life, story, et cetera, et cetera. And Nintendo just goes out of the way to destroy it because they see it as it taking people taking advantage of their platform, of their product, which is fair, but at the same time it's very disgusting. Um on the level that they do this. Like, these aren't like egregious, instead of taking inspiration and hiring maybe these people on, they just flat out destroy them, like literally through court and suing and stuff like that, because they know that these people cannot fight back. So as far as him saying like this is um expected and it's not surprising, it really isn't. But just because it isn't doesn't mean that this is okay, if that makes sense.
Let's go over exactly what this means here today. So if you guys enjoyed the video, hit that like button, subscribe if you're new. So as I mentioned, Nintendo, they love their courtroom scuffles. They're all about it. We've seen them take down emulators all over the place. Specifically, recently with the Switch itself, there were a few of them out there. Now they're all kind of gone, even as they have forks that release. Doesn't matter, Nintendo seems to get those taken down too, because then of course they're based off of things like Yuzu or Ryujinx, so it's just sort of a cascading effect, which is something that was kind of expected, and it makes sense based on the fact that they are of course launching the Switch 2. They wanted to try to get as much of this figured out by way of just making examples out of a bunch of different emulators or hacking tools or resellers as possible before they launch this system. But still, it's been noticed, this is over on Nintendo Life, they're citing GameFile. Steven Totillo had a newsletter about this, but Nintendo updated the user agreement to crack down on emulation. So much so that it's mentioned, apparently.
You see? Okay, I was thinking that. I was like, they're doing this, and that they're doing I mean, I don't know if this is the same thing. This might be completely different from the console, but still, it's like Nintendo has been actively on the crackdown to take down emulation, and emulation is legal. It's completely legal to do. Um, but Nintendo doesn't like it. They just don't. And ever since what happened with Breath of the Wild, it's just given them that much more fuel.
That they can brick your system if they found that you are in violation of this. Now, this is part of the end user license agreement, the thing that most people scroll through very quickly and they never read any of it. And you have to accept it to then, I guess, use the system. So it does put you in a bit of a spot of, well, I didn't buy this system to say no to this and then just put it away. I'm gonna accept it.
$450 for the Switch 2? Of course people are just gonna hit, oh, accept, blah blah blah. And that's what we've been conditioned to do in basically everything. Everything that we download, everything that we buy, there's always some sort of end user agreement that you have to abide to before you could even use it. Like, I mean, I don't know what they could do if you were to say no, like let you use it, but maybe lock away some other features. But at that point, once again, you're spending a lot of money. Like, can you imagine if you buy a $1,200 iPhone and you say, no, I'm not going to let you do this? I mean, some things you can't say no to, but like the main thing, the one that you can't skip, you say no, and then the phone just shuts off. I'm gonna say yes. Like, it's kind of, it's unfair. Oof, tough.
And then move forward. So there's, of course, a lot of discussion when it comes to the end user license agreement as to how enforceable it really is, but we'll get to that in a second. Now, the updated version, you can see, as Nintendo Life has the comparison here, much larger than what we originally had. The updated version says, without limitation, you agree that you may not A, publish, copy, modify, reverse engineer, lease, rent, decompile, it's an interesting one, disassemble, distribute, offer for sale, or create derivative works of any portion of the Nintendo account services. B, bypass, modify, decrypt, defeat, tamper with, or otherwise circumvent any of the functions or protections of the Nintendo account services, including through the use of any hardware or software that would cause Nintendo account services to operate other than in accordance with its documentation and intended use. see, obtain, install, or use any unauthorized copies of Nintendo account services, or exploit Nintendo account services in any manner other than to use them in accordance with the applicable documentation and intended use in each case, without Nintendo's written consent or expressed authorization, or unless otherwise expressly permitted by applicable law. You acknowledge that if you fail to comply with the foregoing restrictions, Nintendo may render the Nintendo account services and or applicable Nintendo device permanently unusable in whole or in part. So this,
There it
again,
is.
its language is very aggressive about the hardware you just bought. All right, so you look at that and you go, hold on a minute. I get that account services. This has gone on forever. Basically, since the advent, we'll say, on consoles of Xbox Live, there's always been some sort of language in there that's like, hey, you're signing up for this. All right, you're becoming part of this network that we have. You're paying us for it, and then in turn, you're getting the services. But if you, say, turn around and start hacking or cheating on the service to play, I don't know, on Xbox Live, Halo, all right, all of a sudden, Warthogs are flying through the sky, or you have auto-aim in Call of Duty or something like that, we're just going to ban you from the service. And I mean, there are Xbox 360s in droves, I'm sure, that are out there. I've come across a couple myself just buying used ones, that the system itself has been completely banned from online use by its unique MAC address or so forth. And that's pretty common, right? So the idea of the system not being able to get online but still be usable is pretty standard. Most people would expect to play online with a hacked or modded system. Yeah, it'll probably then be banned from online use.
That's fair. That's fair. But let's continue.
Thing that's really getting to people right now is
this is where it is.
Permanently unusable in whole or in part. As in, they could push an update and then completely brick your system. Which, I guess technically, in some cases, there are updates that can be pushed after you've maybe soft modded your system that could render it unusable. There are security measures, I'm sure, that can be added in or changed or something, and then all of a sudden your system that has custom firmware isn't necessarily booting up. But the idea that Nintendo could say, you know what, we're just going to go ahead and wipe out all of these systems that are modded in some way, that is to the point where you're like, okay, Nintendo, let's relax a little bit here. And it does make me wonder if that is even something that would necessarily hold up with a EULA. So again, the EULA itself, the end user license agreement, comes up all the time in conversation of, would this hold up in court? And I will say, as much as Nintendo loves to test themselves in court pretty much every week, it seems like now.
Literally.
This is something where I do wonder if the hardware you've bought, and let's say you do modify it, okay? I mean, it's your hardware.
It's yours.
You go online by accident. Are they really able to say, nope, that system will now just be a blank screen when you try to turn it on because we're going to brick it? I don't know if that is something that necessarily would hold up on their end. The idea of them banning you, though, yeah, that's proven to be like correct. It's something that happens, again, a lot. But the thing with these end user license agreements, they come under fire because of how overreaching a lot of the language is pretty much across the board, and the fact that none of us really read through any of it is something you look at as, okay, would anyone really take this to court? That's usually what the big company who writes
people usually do.
Say, press A over and over again, scroll all the way through, not reading it to get past it to use your nice new system or your nice new game, are relying on. It's like, yeah, but are you really going to go to court and spend tens of thousands of dollars to fight back against this when it's a system that's worth hundreds of dollars? Most people are not going to do that. They will say, you know what, that's really annoying. I still want to play the new Mario. I still want to play the new Gears game or the...
Yeah, most people don't have the means, the energy, the time to do that, but there are some that do, and they can, and I'm pretty sure someone will try. And I think if this actually does happen, where someone does challenge the EULA here, the user license agreement on this, it's definitely gonna blow up. It's definitely gonna blow up. And usually by like those things, like the lawyers get paid more out of it anyway. And who knows, maybe even the judge will like see this and kind of be like, you guys cannot do this. Like, this has to change. And we've seen it in some cases, like with Apple, if someone was to do this, I think this would take news, which is not good for Nintendo, if they care. Very it's such an annoying conversation, you know, like it's hard to be like, this is wrong, right? It's hard to be like, this is wrong and something needs to be done about it. But the truth is, most people don't have the means for it for something to be done. And that's really, really sad. So that's why I'm saying, yeah, maybe someone could do something here, right? And it could get news, but like we won't know until it happens. So
Or the new God of War. I'll just go buy a new system. And actually, again, this is something that's been around for a bit.
that's true.
This is from 9 years ago on the 3DS. And this was during a system update that was pushed. It says after the system is updated, any existing or future unauthorized technical modification of the hardware or software of your system or the use of an unauthorized device in connection with your system will render the system permanently unplayable and result in removal of unauthorized.
This is like the second time something was like this has already been a thing. Even though we're hearing about it now because the Switch 2 is such a big high demand that we're hearing about this, but something like the Nintendo 3DS apparently now already had this agreement. So they've already implemented this into their guidelines before. So they basically think that they can get away with this because it was never challenged. That's crazy.
Content. So this has found its way into end user license agreements in the past from Nintendo specifically, like on the 3DS. And look, the 3DS has been blown wide open at this point. This is from 9 years ago, though, which, even 9 years ago, there was still discussion around the hacking scene. Nowhere near like what it is now. And in some way, Nintendo, of course, has it as a legacy system. So they've kind of moved on from it. But look, we know how Nintendo feels about hacking systems, modifying them, emulation, the whole thing. If they could get away with it, I'm sure they would love to have some sort of siren in the office that goes off whenever somebody hacks the system, and they can just ban it, shut it down, render it useless, be bricked completely, because they kind of just want you to play within the lane that they've set.
Mm-hmm.
But as we know with the internet, that's not really how it goes. And actually, I'm kind of glad that the internet will still push forward with a lot of this stuff, because when you see what is possible with these systems, especially when they're kind of in legacy status, like the 3DS, like the Wii U, or the Wii, it is impressive stuff. The GameCube is like a whole other thing now. It's crazy all the stuff that's happened there, especially from a hardware perspective, but definitely with a software perspective with things like Swiss. So it would actually be a shame if the companies were able to really press this stuff and make it so people wouldn't even attempt to open it up further for the homebrew community, because there are some
That's
really
what they want to
breakthroughs that
do.
happen, and I just don't really see this being anything other than them overreaching a bit in the EULA and it really not amounting to much. But I guess technically they could do it and test it and see what happens. Maybe out of spite, someone would try to take it to court and go from there. But let me know what you guys think about this down below. You think this is more or less just kind of the scare tactic, overreaching EULA that most people will never read anyway, and most of us weren't even aware that these changes were made in the first place? Or you think Nintendo is ever actually serious about the idea of going out and bricking people's systems, say, if the Switch 2 was blown wide open? You imagine waking...
I think Nintendo is serious. I think Nintendo is very much serious, especially behind how they've been acting. I don't think there's any reason to doubt that they wouldn't push out a software update that will be able to tell if the hardware has been modified or tampered with, and they completely brick it for it to be unusable. I mean, they've already so here's what we've learned as far as from this video. We've learned that this has already existed back on the 3DS, which means this is a thing that they know and that they practice to see what will happen, like to actually enforce it. We know that they are very keen on enforcing this in court. So we've already seen Nintendo's behavior when it comes to just like boosting like the prices and stuff. Like they are not scared of us. They're not scared of us. Us as the consumer have fattened up companies like Nintendo to the point where they don't fear the consumer. They don't. They've already narrative-wise, socially and narratively wise have separated themselves from the console wars. People do not correlate them, even though they try, but the majority do not, and that's a fact. They do not correlate Nintendo with PlayStation or Xbox. They see them in their own lane. People already over purchase things that Nintendo have put out multiple times in the past, have not updated properly, bad ports and all, and full price. People buy it, buy it, buy it. Like I said in my last Nintendo video that will come up in here, I know people that have bought the Switches 4 to 5 times, and they have rebought games 4 to 5 times full price. Nintendo knows no matter what they do, they will not. I mean, they believe for the most part, no matter what they do, they will not have any backlash for it. And at the end of the day, even if they do get backlash for it, there's nothing that anyone can do about it. So we did this. We did this. So as much as we want to be upset about it and everything, once again, we did this. And the only way for this to change is, once again, you gotta talk with the money. Either you don't purchase it, like the guy that I reacted to in that video where he was like, I'm not buying the Switch 2, and here's why. I'm gonna link that one too. That's a good video for you guys to go watch as well. Either you talk with your money, with your wallet, and close it and don't buy, and like there's like a big drop of people not buying the Switch 2 because of this user agreement and or the games being too expensive, then they're not going to change. And we already know, as we've already seen, people are going to buy this in bulk. I also have to add, if Nintendo gets away with this, then what's to stop Xbox and PlayStation from doing it too, or other companies? If one big player can do it while still making a ton of money, why can't we? Because, like he said, I'll just like for the regular user who gets banned and that has has enough funds to be like, okay, well, I tried it, it didn't work, and my Switch 2 is now bricked. I'll just go buy another one. You just gave them another $450, dude. You just gave them another round of money. That is absolutely crazy to me that we live in such a time. But anyways, let me know down in the comments what you guys think about the situation. Or are you still gonna be buying Switch 2? You're not gonna mess with it? I'm sure you're not. But let me know your thoughts about this, and we'll have a conversation. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Later.